I know that you recently did a reading at the Corner Bookstore here in New York City, and that you also did a reading upstate at the Chautauqua Institute. How have readers responded to your book, and have you gotten any surprising reactions? And have you learned anything from a reader that touched you or showed you how much of an impact you've had with this book?
The reaction I have gotten has been extremely heartwarming, and I'm very grateful for that. At a book reading at Chautauqua, one of the people in the audience asked, so you had an arranged marriage and we know what it was like for you. What about your husband? How did he feel about it? And my husband happened to be present, and I looked at him and said, yeah, so here's the poster child for forced marriages. And then we had him answer the question for the audience, which was pretty neat, having somebody who's in the book be there to answer the question. But that was an interesting question. I do answer it in my book, but it was neat that it was asked. People have actually stopped me while I've been walking through the plaza. And you know what's interesting is that you see people around you sitting and reading books at Chautauqua, and sometimes you'll come across someone who's reading your book. And when I walk by, they'll come up to me and say, can you please sign the book for me? And we just love reading your book, and it is so illuminating, and we now know more about Muslims and Muslim families than we ever thought we would. And thank you for writing this book. I now understand. I'm getting that kind of a reaction. What did surprise me was that how different people have a different take on it. Today, somebody called me and said, this is a book that every teenager should read. Now, that wasn't my audience. My audience was, the average Joe the plumber and, the average Pakistani immigrant, but not teenagers. And she explained. She said that the family values that come across in this book of families in Pakistan where children trust their parents and they trust their grandparents and they rely on their wisdom and the respect that they have for them, that is something that I feel, this is this woman talking, that somewhere along the line we lost it. And I want the teenagers to read it so that they can know what it is like to be able to trust and respect your relatives. That I had not expected.
To what degree was it a goal of yours to educate American readers about Pakistan and about Islamic history and culture and traditions?
Well, totally about Islamic traditions, to some degree about culture. I had wanted to make the distinction between the theology and the culture, because how Islam expresses itself in different nations is an outcome of the culture. And many times what we think is Islamic is really a culture. For example, the covering of the hair, the covering of the face, the not covering the legs, revealing the arms, all of that is a cultural expression. In Pakistan, women do not reveal their legs, but they uncover their hair for the most part. They don't wear the hijab. In Arab countries, they will cover their hair, but they may be wearing skirts. In Saudi Arabia, you cover your face. And all that is cultural. The Quran does not prescribe a dress code, except to outline the boundaries, which is that we should be modest in our interaction. And it stops at that. So much of what we see is culture, and that is what I've tried to explain in my book, so that some of that stereotyping is addressed. As for Pakistan, that's where I grew up, and a lot of what I brought here, I'm a product of that environment, and I do take the reader into Pakistan in the 70s when I left Pakistan. So my marriage and all the details about it are very much Pakistani culture in the 70s. And then I take you back in the current century and show how it has changed and how the culture has changed, how the traditions have changed. So you get to see both.
Lastly, what response did you anticipate from your Muslim and Pakistani readers, and how did that influence your decision making in the writing and editing processes?
So that was the tricky part, because I knew that for my Muslim readers, I'm going to get a very varied response, depending on how conservative they are, how liberal they are, how much they know, how much they believe they know, and how much of their thinking is influenced by culture. So I knew that when I take a position that I feel, in my opinion, that a woman can be a spiritual leader, that there are many Muslims of a certain leaning who are going to object to it. Likewise, I knew that there were many who would applaud me on that. So there is a lot of controversy in this, depending on who's reading it. As for Pakistanis, I am hoping that they see this as a positive reflection of the family values and traditional values of that country. I have also highlighted the difficult and challenging time that the country is going through. It is meant to give an honest portrayal of how things are like, and I hope that it is taken in the spirit in which it has been put forth.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Again, the book is called Threading My Prayer Rug by Sabeeha Rehman, and you can find this at any bookstore, Amazon, Barnes & Noble, IndieBound. Also, for more information about this, please visit our blog, blog.skyhorsepublishing.com. Thank you.
Thank you.